Welcome to our explainer. Today we are diving deep into one single chapter, Luke chapter 6. And let me tell you, this chapter is a wild ride. It kicks off with a fight over a snack and wraps up with a challenge that might just change your entire life. It is absolutely packed with confrontation, some really deep teaching, and this radical vision for what's called an upside-down kingdom.
So it all starts with this question. And on the surface, it seems almost silly, right? Picking a snack on a Saturday, what's the big deal? But this tiny little spark is about to ignite a total firestorm, challenging the entire religious establishment of the day. So let's see how it all plays out.
Right away, we're dropped into a conflict. And it's not about theft, it's all about timing. The disciples are hungry, so they pick some grain to eat. And boom, suddenly we have a major controversy on our hands that really shows this deep, deep clash of worldviews.
Okay, this slide just lays out the whole conflict perfectly. So on one side, you've got the Pharisees, and to them, this is a clear-cut case of illegal work. They see it as reaping and threshing on a holy day, period. But Jesus just completely reframes the whole debate. He brings up their own national hero, King David, who, once broke a similar religious rule because he and his men were in need. The principle he's laying down here is revolutionary. People are more important than rigid rules.
And this quote, this is the mic drop moment. He calls himself the Son of Man, which is a title from the Old Testament that refers to this divine figure with ultimate authority. So, you see, he's not just offering a new interpretation of the law. He's claiming authority over the law itself. He's basically saying, hey, I created the Sabbath. It's meant to be a gift for you, not a cage. I know what it's for.
So in the very next scene, Jesus takes this same conflict and intentionally walks it right into the synagogue, a place of worship. He sees a man there with a withered hand, and instead of trying to avoid another controversy, he puts the man and the issue front and center for everyone to see.
And then he poses this piercing question, and honestly, it's a brilliant logical trap. By framing it this way, he exposes the really chilling conclusion of their whole argument. Their rules would rather let a man suffer than allow an act of mercy. He shows them, and everybody watching, how they've twisted a life-giving law into a life-denying one.
So what's the reaction when Jesus performs this incredible miracle of compassion? Is it joy, awe? No, it's fury. The text literally says they were filled with madness. Now, why? Well, because this act of love and power just completely bypassed their authority. It threatened their entire system of social and religious control. If people could connect with God directly through him, well, the Pharisees' job as gatekeepers was pretty much over.
So after a confrontation that direct, Jesus makes his next move. It's time to build the core team for this world-changing movement. And the way he lays the foundation is, well, it's pretty surprising.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the prep that goes into what happens next. Jesus is about to pick the team, the inner circle that's going to carry this radical message to the entire world. I mean, this is a huge moment.
So what does he do? He spends the whole night by himself on a mountain just praying. And the text really highlights this for a reason. Think about it. If Jesus himself needed that kind of focused time to make this decision, it sends a really powerful message about how important it is to seek guidance before any big undertaking.
And after that night of prayer, he comes down and chooses 12 men, and he gives them a very specific title, apostles. In the original Greek, apostolos, this means sent ones. So they weren't just students, they were basically commissioned delegates, sent out with his full authority. And, in a pretty sobering detail, this hand-picked group even included Judas Iscariot, the one who would eventually betray him.
Okay, so his core team is now in place. Jesus comes down from the mountain and delivers what is basically a manifesto. And it's a manifesto that turns all worldly values, all our systems of success, completely on their head.
Just look at this table. This is the heart of his upside-down kingdom. He says the truly blessed, the truly fortunate people are the poor, the hungry, the grieving, and the rejected. And then he issues these woes. And they aren't curses. They're more like solemn warnings to those who are rich and comfortable and popular. He is completely flipping the script on what success even looks like.
So the crucial point here is this total inversion of our value system. It's a call to ask ourselves, where do we actually place our trust? If all our security is tied up in worldly things, like money and what other people think of us, Jesus is saying we're on really shaky ground. True, lasting security, that's found in depending on God.
Next up, Jesus gets incredibly practical. He explains exactly how citizens of this new, upside-down kingdom are supposed to act. This is where belief has to move into real, tangible, outward action.
And right here,
he issues one of his most radical commands. And this isn't just about tolerating your enemies or being civil, it's about actively loving them, doing good for them, blessing them, praying for them. It's a supernatural response that goes against every single human instinct, and it's meant to be a direct reflection of God's own character.
He points out that, look, loving people who love you back is easy. Anyone can do that. There's no challenge in it. But the standard for his kingdom is different. It's about giving forgiveness and mercy and help with absolutely no strings attached. And he says that this kind of open-handedness is what unlocks God's own extravagant blessings in our lives. Then he uses this powerful and honestly almost funny metaphor to warn us against hypocrisy. He says we can't possibly help someone else with a tiny little speck of sawdust in their eye if we're walking around ignoring the giant wooden plank sticking out of our own. The message is just unmistakable. We have to start with ourselves. Self-examination and self-correction have to come first before we even think about correcting someone else.
And he connects all of our outward behavior directly to what's going on inside. It's a simple principle. A good tree naturally produces good fruit. A bad tree produces bad fruit. In the same way, our words and our actions are just the overflow of what's really in our hearts. So if we want to change our actions, true, lasting change has to start from the inside out.
And this brings us to the grand finale. The chapter ends with a powerful final parable that serves as the ultimate challenge, and it ties everything we've just heard together beautifully.
Jesus asks this absolutely piercing question. It just cuts through all the religious pretense. He makes it crystal clear that just calling him Lord or just acknowledging him with our words is completely and utterly meaningless if it's not backed up by obedience.
He tells a story about two types of people, two builders. Now, both of them hear his words, but the wise builder is the one who hears and then acts on them. This person is building their life on a deep, solid rock foundation. The foolish builder, they hear the exact same words, but then they do nothing. They build right on the surface, on the shifting sand, and when the storms of life, which will inevitably come for everyone, hit, the outcome is, well, it's drastically different. One house stands firm, the other faces total collapse.
And that leaves us with a central challenge of this entire powerful chapter. You know, it's not just a story from the past, it's a question for right now, for you and for me. Is our foundation the shifting sand of just hearing things, of intellectual agreement without any action? Or is it the unshakable rock that only comes from actively putting these radical, life-altering words into practice?